Hey, what's up, guys? It's Dan from UnitedQ. It's Wednesday, which means we have another awesome podcast to get you over Hump Day. I'm here with my co-host, Barbecue Forte.
Hello.
And we are brought to you by ProQ, BBQ Gourmet, and Smokewood Shack, our awesome sponsors. And ProQ is dedicated to providing you with quality smoking products with top-notch service and free advice for beginners to pitmasters. And you can find them on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram under ProQ Smokers. So if you're thinking about buying your first smoker, or looking to upgrade, or even looking to pick up some epic accessories, check them out over at Max Barbecue. And BBQ Gourmet is devoted to promoting real barbecue and supplying the UK and Europe with the top championship-winning barbecue rubs, sauces, marinades, and accessories from the US and around the world. And you can find them on Twitter and online under BBQ Gourmet. So regardless of how you cook, whether it's on charcoal, wood, gas, or electric, the real taste of barbecue can be yours all year round. Yippee! So on today's episode, we are with the winner of the King of the Grill of Grillstock, and we have Priscilla, Queen of the Firepit. Hello.
Hello. Good afternoon. Is it afternoon? Is it morning? Is it night? I'm not quite sure. I've had a little sleep the last few days.
Well, it is Monday morning, or Monday afternoon now, actually. Yeah, you've confused me now. And yesterday was Grillstock, so the results and the final categories are yesterday, and now we are here with the winner. How's it feel?
Apparently so, you are with the winner. It's sinking in now, a little bit shell-shocked. I really didn't go in to this weekend expecting to win at all. It's quite challenging doing the Priscilla thing. We go there really to have a lot of fun, to raise the money for charity, which we did really well. At the point of the award ceremony yesterday, we knew we'd raised quite a lot of cash. Obviously, the tattoo on my backside has increased that massively, so I've got that to look forward to. But we went to the award ceremony quite happy and content. I knew a couple of the categories were good. I knew one of them. I knew my ribs were absolutely banging. I was pretty confident when the box went in that they would be winners. I'm quite a good rib cook, but I didn't think overall 4 categories that we'd quite be there. I expected top 5, but yeah, when pork result came through, you had Dr. Evil had pulled a second, then the brisket, and I didn't get a call in the brisket, and Dr. Evil got the second again. So I was stood with Toby. Toby and I were looking at each other and going, ooh, interesting. Could this be Dr. Evil? Mm. And then he didn't get the call on the chicken. I got the third. And we're looking at it thinking, it's possibly on. I'm starting to think maybe it's possible because those ribs could have scored quite highly. Ray made a comment when I was on stage when I was picking up the Ribs Award about the cane and expecting to get more awards, and I thought, I think I've done one of them. It's either RGC or GC then. Then they called Gary to Dr. Evil for RGC. Everyone was trying to push me up the steps, so I'll be ready to go and get the GC. And I was going, no. Sure, I've cocked something up. It'll be Toby, British Bulldog will have won it. I'll be third. No, I'm not going up there until they say it. I'm not jinxing it. In fact, I'm not going up there until they say it twice. And then I'm glad I was wearing sunglasses because there was a little tear in the eye actually. It's quite emotional.
Yeah, what an honour amongst such a great competition amongst some awesome teams, but you really deserved it. A lot of people, I think you were probably the only person that hadn't called it. Everyone on sort of social media and everything was all firing out Priscilla's won, it's got to be Priscilla. So I think, yeah, well deserved. Absolutely cracking.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I have been inundated afterwards at the festival. I mean, we couldn't get vans on site till 10:30. We were literally thinking, God, this is going to be hell. I was planning to go back to the hotel, have a shower and everything, because you're so tired after that period of time that you're thinking, you know what, I don't want to sit on site. I've broken down my pitch. It's all stacked. I don't really want to sit there because normally it's only till 6 o'clock. My husband in the past, the time just flew. It was someone was bringing a van on before I knew what was happening. Just so many people wanted to come and talk to me. My social media has been insane today. I leave it for 5 minutes and I've got 30 Facebook notifications, several Twitter, Instagram. I've even got a guy who created the bacon explosion, one of the barbecue addicts guys, started following me on Twitter today. You can tell you're a barbecue geek when the guy who creates the bacon explosion follows you, and you're like, yes, I've arrived. But yeah, it's been. I've never been very good at taking compliments. You might surprise you, but I'm actually quite shy. So getting people saying all these nice things, and me not being, I've never been able to take a compliment, not being self-deprecating and making jokes about myself and stuff when they do say these nice things is yes, it's nicer, you know.
Bro, when you give your ribs out to the public, I was sort of stood by Deeks. I just with Deeks and Danny, I just tried one of theirs, and theirs was fantastic as well. Really loved it. And I was looking across, and I saw your ribs, and they looked fantastic. And then I saw the crowd there, and you like handed them out, and it was like we all know, like the sort of seagull effect. Everyone sort of attacking each other to get one, and just watching their faces as they tucked in, I knew they were pretty special. So yeah, it's wicked. And also another really good compliment walking around is the amount of people using your rubs and sauces. So not only did you win, but actually a lot of your competitors are actually are using the rubs that you've crafted and the sauces that you put out as well. It's got to be a massive sort of honour as well.
Oh, I've loved it, and not just in the competition crowds, you know, just the general barbecue community in the UK wider, who this takes up, particularly gorilla powder. You know, people have got nuts for it. The sauces have been a bit more of a slower burner to get going because they're not cheap. They're not cheap because it's quite difficult to make sauces in a small batch. The micro batch manufactured for me by a company just outside Bath. A very, very good sauce making company, but obviously the handmade in batches of 200-300 bottles at a time. It means that I'm literally, the sauces, I make virtually nothing on them. They're out there. Let's be honest, it's a vanity project, you know. That's what the whole rub and sauce thing was. I mean, the way it started was, I'm a northerner at heart, and I was too tight to keep ordering things from the Kansas City barbecue store. And when I started out doing this, it was before you had like barbecue gourmet, so with a ready supply of the American stuff. You literally had to order it from the States yourself, and the shipping prohibitively expensive. We used to go out to do the American Royal every year with Toby from the British Barbecue Society. We used to go out with one suitcase and come back with two, just literally filled with rubs, try and get through a year, or as much of a year as you could. And it was actually John Hargate from Barbecue Shack who got a credit with what got me started in making the rubs. He gave me a theory, and that theory is 30% sugars, mix different types of sugars, 30% salts, and when he says salts, he means garlic salt, celery salt, onion salt, so it's not actually 30% actual sodium. And then 20% paprika, 10% flavorings. He said, build all your rubs doing that. Started doing that. He advised me of, it was a Schwartz product that they don't make anymore. It was a chili con carne seasoning. He said, buy some of this, run it through a coffee grinder, add that as one of your flavor seasonings. And it was amazing. Then they stopped making it, so I had to sort of like replicate something similar to try and get the balance of ingredients in my own. What was my pork rub? It was literally just called pork rub at this point in time. And it got better when I took out the pre-made things, and I stopped using celery salt and started an onion salt and garlic salt, and used garlic powder, onion powder, and just tweaked the salt levels and stuff myself manually. It just got better and better. And then a couple of people tried it and asked me if I'd make them a kilo, so they could use in competitions. And then the next thing I know, I'm making 10, 15 kilo batches so that I can share it with people. And I went, you know what, I'll see if I can find someone who'll make it. And that's a nightmare when you're a small guy.
Yeah, but
I found a place. They'll do it in 30 kilogram batches. Somebody they'll bag it in little 200 gram bags, which I just manually stuff into the tins myself. The whole packaging is done because it's doable for me. I mean, I'm at a size now where I could probably fully outsource that and change the packaging, but the tins seem to be quite popular at the moment.
I love the tins.
Yeah, they're awesome. I always keep the tins afterwards.
Yeah, after I've used them, keep the tins and then chuck some other stuff in there as well. So I've actually got I've lost what I've actually got because I've got like a million different Gorilla tins that have got different rubbish in them from that I've made myself as well. So I don't even know which one's which. But
so the tins worked, they're cost effective. The whole point was trying to make it as well so that I make a little bit of cash out of it. It's pocket money. It's not there to replace my living.
Barbecue's an expensive hobby, so anything that you can get helps a lot.
Hobby. Yeah, so that and everything's come from me. Like all the artworks, my designs, and it's Charlie from Smoking Penguin, who obviously he's got a company, Gander Media, that do a lot of the banners for the teams and that. He does all the printing for me, helps me with a bit of input when my design work is not quite right because I'm not expert in that area. But it is really, it's a vanity project. Nice little tax write-off for the profit that comes in there. I can use that profit to pay for part of going to Grillstock because it's excuse me, it's a promotional thing for the business as much as the charity work. So it has made competing a bit more economical for me, but it's some of the comments you get, some of the compliments, and in person when at Grillstock you get someone coming up to you saying, I use your Gorilla powder, it effing goes on everything, it's effing amazing, you're really pissed, so the language is, I'm trying to be good here, my language.
I appreciate that very much. You're doing very well.
It's terrible. But you get, when they've had a few drinks, you get a little bit of the passion that they've got for the products and that. I've never known anything like this. I've never created a product before, and I wouldn't care if I didn't make a penny out of it. It's sometimes it's just nice to be told that I love having your stuff in my kitchen.
Well, you're going to get told by us as well because we both absolutely love them. And I wasn't even aware about the sauces until the other week, and then I saw Si from Cider Pig, he had your sauces, and I got to try some actually, and it was absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Loved it.
When the two are mixed, they're designed to be mixed together.
I think that's what he did. I believe.
Yeah, it works really well. I mean, basically, one of them is an alternative to Blue Hog, because everyone who does competition knows Blue Hog's ubiquitous. But it's for us over here. I mean, even you buying it from Barbecue Gourmet, it's not a cheap product because it's not cheap in the States. Obviously, Richard's got to bring it over here, so he's got to make it. He's got to make his money out of it as well. So it's a premium product. So he's doing something that obviously, basically for me in the first instance, when I'm not bottling it, when I make it in my own kitchen, it's much more cost effective. It's always the packaging that kills you when you're a small guy. So you pay a lot for it. You pay a lot for. The labour. I mean, the reason I outsource the sauces, I'd never make the rubs myself because literally I have to have them in 200 to 300 kilo batches made now. No chance would I ever bother doing that myself because the machinery, my factory that I use, they make stuff for supermarket home brands and stuff that can make me a ton at a time if I want it. Yeah. So it makes a lot of sense. The sauces, I'd love to make them myself. I really would. And I may explore that. Unfortunately, at the moment where I live, my kitchen is not suitable for. It's not the right size really to have. I'd need I'd need at the very least some boiling rings out, some like induction rings, or preferably a big double boiler. But I'm moving down to Brighton. I'm hoping the house prices down there are a lot more reasonable than where I live, so I can get somewhere where maybe I can put a development kitchen in.
Awesome.
An extension on the side, which will allow me a little commercial kitchen that I can play in. Maybe pick up a second-hand double boiler for making sauces and move into doing it myself, because it's half a day's work to make a big batch. I can bottle it. I can make it more cost-effective because I can get the sauces. Again, I'm not bothered with making a massive profit on it. I can get them out to more people and people are enjoying them. I make enough money out of what I do during the day, but I don't get the same satisfaction as I get when I see people cooking stuff with my products. And when I see, Team Smoking Penguin got RGC at May and May. Beat me. I wasn't too happy about that, obviously. But he used my sauces, and that's his best ever result, using my sauces. Obviously, he uses his own rubs. But using my sauces, I think we did May and May. Top 5 teams, you had a bunch of swines, Blues Hog advocates massively. Then you had Smoking Penguin second, using my sauces. Me third, using my sauces. McSlim's fourth, using Blues Hog. And then Hammer and Tongs fifth, using mine. So 3 out of the top 5. And they've got a strong field. Not as big as Grillstock, but a very experienced field.
Yeah, well, all those teams you named are all major teams, and speaks volumes to the product. Speaks absolute volumes to the product. So, congratulations, bro. Sounds like I tasted it and I know that I loved it, but sounds like the judges and stuff are all agreeing as well, and that speaks volumes.
Yeah, and that again, it's always not just on the sauces and everything. When the judges score things well, and when you hear the compliments, and you hear when they talk about the standard of the field broadly being very good. And a lot of people might think, if they're listening to this now, I think, well, they're not going to say you're all rubbish, are they? Well, actually, you've been doing this a long time. I remember a competition in 2010 where Jackie Wade turned around and said, it was all shite. Those are her exact words. Rubbish. Total rubbish. 10 teams competing. You imagine the anger in these guys who competed overnight. When who the hell is she to be saying that? She shouldn't be insulting. The thing is, it's honesty. The honesty was there. The other judges, the ones who've got the backbone to actually say that, heard that said before. And then sort of like last year at Bristol, I was chatting to Jackie, because I've known her for 10 years. And she's saying, yeah, the standard's excellent across the board. It shows how far along we've come in the UK. You can see our British teams that go out to Europe and compete in the KCBS circuit. It's changing now, because the European teams are catching us up, which is brilliant. We saw that British dominance. Couple of British teams winning virtually everything.
Bunch of Swines and Miss Piggies are doing absolutely phenomenal in the sort of KCBS scene and stuff like that. It's absolutely brilliant to see. Like this year already, they've both brought in GCs across Europe and US.
It's evening up now, though, and that's good. You've got to have a lot of respect for people like Ed and Emma, Bunch of Swines. They approach barbecue competition very, very differently to me, for instance. Ed is a very serious competitor. Emma is an absolute perfect string to his bow. She, obviously, they're partners in life. They work really well together. Ed, the standard format for a competition is not Grillstock is. You cook overnight on the Saturday, you turn in on the Sunday. There's a kind of a way we kind of all operate is we get together on a Friday night because we're all really good friends. We get absolutely blotto, get over your hangover by about lunchtime, and then we have a drink on the Saturday, but you see there's a marked difference, and you see Ed go into competition mode, and he's very, very focused. I'm told I get into the zone and I'm focused. I don't spend the same time and effort sort of in the practice and everything. I used to be really serious about it. Like, I really wanted to be very, very good and be the best. And then I worked out that actually, to me, what works for me is having more fun, and this is why. I mean, obviously there's a lot more with the Priscilla thing, but doing that at Grillstock, I accept. Well, I just won, but I accept that it makes it a lot harder for me to win, but I get a different thing out of it, and maybe that'll change, and maybe I'll at some point I'll go, you know what, I want to do what Ed and Emma are doing. It's not something that works for me. People like Charlie's more like me. We go for fun, and if you don't win, you don't win. Don't be wrong, I am competitive. I do like beating Bunchy Swines because them and British Bulldog are the teams to beat. You know, in my mind, I can't. I mean, Miss Piggies haven't competed in the UK for a long time, so it's difficult. I've not been on the same field as them. But when I look at for me, I look at guys who compete in the UK, done Grillstock and done IBQN, and then I look at what they've done in the States. The Bunch of Swines, superb at the Royal, you know, for several years now. They've moved up, and they're kicking American arse. You know, it's very, very difficult when you go out and compete in the US because things are so different, and you don't have your own gear there. It pushes you that little bit out of your comfort zone.
And you're not American, which automatically marks you down as well.
I'm not going to comment on that because the judging is absolutely fair and unbiased, and could never be corrupted in any way. Now, what it is you do a big. The thing is, our British teams go and they do the big contests, so they do that at the Royal. The Royal's a crapshoot, particularly the Open. You know, you've got 500 teams, so many tables and judges. We saw it at Walthamstow with Grillstock last year, on a much smaller scale. A lot of new judges, a lot of inexperienced guys and girls doing the judging, and it's no fault of their own, but they've done a 2-hour course with KCBS. They've eaten barbecue in the UK, but you'll know you eat a lot of barbecue. There's a lot of bad barbecue around. So people, they don't have the experience. I spent ages talking to some of the guys who've not been competing as long as I have about their KCBS comment cards. People are genuinely furious about it because we're all self-critical. Not many of us will turn something in and go, "It was amazing," when it was absolute rubbish. And I saw some shockingly bad out of kilter scores. But people, obviously, let's take ribs as an example. We know in competition terms, you want a rib that's got a bite through. It's got to have a little bit of resistance. It's got a hold to the bone. But you still want it to be soft. You don't want it to be dry. You want it to be juicy, and you want it to give your belly a smile. But a lot of people prefer ribs that just suck straight off the bone. And there's nothing wrong with that. If that's what you're used to and that's your preference, and you've got to judge for the first time, something's that little bit more resistant, you go, it's a bit underdone. It's a bit tough, a bit tougher than I like. And even if you've been told it shouldn't be like that, it should be a bit more resistant, still you're in the mindset of what you like, and it's a huge thing to satisfy the judges and balance it out with. It's not always what you need, what the judges should be doing in terms of how they judge, the criteria they judge on, not necessarily 100% in line with their personal preferences, and that's a tough thing for judges. I'm not criticising them here because I like my ribs to fall off the bone. To be honest,
I second that.
I like just grabbing it, taking a bite, and then it slaps onto my face.
Yep.
I mean, the only thing I don't like when the chicken skin does that. That's a bit. I mean, if you'd seen the judges at Grillstock Manchester last year when they had to do the chicken first thing in the morning after, let's call it a slightly heavy night. I remember stood there. I mean, I was in a really bad place in Grillstock Manchester last year. I was really down, not feeling very well in myself. In the mornings, I was really struggling and quite unhappy and quite sad. Cheered me up no end watching Andy Williams with a flap of chicken skin on his chin that had come off as he'd bitten it. And he had to wait nearly a minute before he could move it because he just knew that if he tried to pull it out, he was just going to throw up straight over the stage. He just sat there and there's this terror in his eyes. And maybe it's the sadistic side of me, I don't know. I couldn't help but be cheered up a little bit like that. No matter how bad my life is, mate. I'm not about to throw up with chicken skin hanging out of my mouth.
Well, I'm glad at least something was going to cheer you up then, mate. And I'm glad to see that you are a lot happier in yourself now and in a much better place. We've seen some awesome sort of comments from you recently, just saying about how happy you are and how and then you've now just smashed Grand Champion as well. So that's got to be another happy point.
Absolutely. I mean, honestly, it was the icing on the cake for the weekend. We had a fantastic weekend. Met a lot of people. You know, you'll know this. You meet a lot of people on the internet these days. You've never actually met, and to actually properly put a physical face to the name. You know, and some people, sometimes you don't get them properly on the internet as well. I'm not going to name the guy, but there's a guy who I see on some of the forums who I thought, he seems all right, but he might be a bit of a douchebag. Came and talked to me. Oh, lovely, absolutely lovely bloke. Really, really sound.
Oh, I'm glad you feel that way about me.
Oh, mate, I met you before. I already knew you were a total douchebag. Meeting Kelly as well, you know. I mean, I'm totally enamoured by Kelly's kebab.
Yeah.
I've got a little bit of a crush on Kelly as well, so I think she had to bring her husband to keep her safe. She didn't want to get Priscilla. Be nice. It's lovely to me, and the voice, you know. I mean, I knew she was a northern girl from just up the road from where I grew up. But obviously, with her living in Scotland, you know, the voice is not necessarily what you're expecting. You know, and it's just kind of cool. It just humanises people more. And there's a lot
massively.
of people who are really good. They've become really good friends. I mean, you look at a couple of the guys, Stuart and Mel, who came down together. I mean, they're just as visitors. They've become mates just through barbecue, just on the forums, and it mirrors. This is all getting a bit touchy feely, I know, but it mirrors what we've got in the competition scene. That you know, some of my best friends, I've known them only for 5 or 6 years through barbecue. Charlie's like my brother. You know, when I was being pretty bad. I mean, all right, let's be totally honest. I went to kill myself last year, and it was barbecue people who stopped that and turned that around, and that's all come through the camaraderie, the friendship, and the fact that people just really look after each other.
Yeah,
and I see that not just in the competition side, seeing it in the wider community as well. You know, Mel, for instance, announced on Facebook that he's unfortunately quite ill. The outpouring of love that he got, and people wanting to do things for him.
Yeah.
I mean, as Brits, we should probably be a bit cynical about that. Oh, it's a bit American, isn't it? But you know, it's nice. It's heartwarming. Restores your
massively.
Restores your faith in human nature.
Massively. And it really is like it does feel like a big barbecue family. And like you said, I mean, it was amazing actually getting to meet some of these people, and you feel like you already are like, I mean, like you said about Mel and Stuart, I mean, you would have thought they had known each other for 25 years this weekend, walking around, spending the whole weekend together and stuff. It is an awesome thing.
First time they've met.
Yeah.
First time they've met in person. And that's really cool. I'm always really torn with the cliche barbecue family, you know, because I kind of, it is a bit cliche.
Yep.
People throw it around a lot. But then you see it in action, you know. I mean, Chris from Bullet Brothers Barbecue, and so I'd been the first year I was at Grillstock when I did his Jedi Swine Tricks, you know. Then you kind of stick with the people, you know. I'd had a few brief conversations with them, just friendly like. Then, as I sort of like, I mean, I know everyone thinks I kind of like stormed out of the closet with a bottle of Bolly in one hand and a perfectly cooked rib in the other, but it was kind of more of a fell out of it, really desperately trying not to let people see who I was.
Yeah.
The support from Chris, who'd spoken to me twice, and then suddenly it's like there's like a bond there, you know, and real genuine friendship, you know. And it might not be we don't live locally, so we're not out to the pub every week, you know. But that feels like a real friendship. And that's someone I've known slightly for 2 years.
Yeah.
And there's just so many people like that. And you can see so many little relationships and that forming that way. And I guess it is all barbecue, food. I can't remember someone that spouts food is love a lot. And again, it's cliched, but it's true. Dining together forms a bond. Barbecue is a very casual, non-pretentious dining experience. Don't get me started on the organic grass-fed brigade because they're maybe pushing it a little bit down the pretentious route. But it's an informal, really communal and social form of eating, and I think it just lends itself to building those social relationships. And you can see it. And I'm a people watcher. I love watching it, and I love how accepting people are to people who are different. The sort of just naturally, and no one gives a crap. No one gives a crap that I walk around in makeup and wear a dress. It doesn't matter to them. And in fact, actually, some of the teams, they keep an eye on me in case anyone gives me any grief. And then they're after, I can look after myself. They're after diving in, getting rid of anyone who gives me any shit. Little Christine took 2 blokes out at Walthamstow. 2 6-foot blokes. Bang, bang, 2 kicks in the nuts. I've never seen 2 big blokes go down so quickly in my life. Just don't you mess with Priscilla. I'm stood there going, you know what? I'm glad mine are tucked away, because if I say the wrong thing to her, she'll have me.
No, it is awesome to see. Absolutely fantastic. Glad you brought the points up, because it has been that's probably one of the highlights of the weekend for me, was actually getting to meet a lot of people and actually spend some time and yeah, just like you said, it's just putting a voice to them and just like you said, humanising them a bit, because you never, like, over the internet, like, you talk to all these people all the time, and you do build up these bonds and think you're friends with them, but actually getting to meet them over the weekend and stuff was really great.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, we've probably gone off on a tangent from what you wanted to talk about in this podcast. I guess you probably wanted to be a bit more on the how did you cook this? What did you do with that kind of thing?
That'd be nice. Can you tell us how to win? Let's tell us how to win.
I'll tell you 95% of what I do, which is what I've always told everyone. And this is how it works. I've been competing since 2009. And I was rubbish at first, absolutely rubbish. My first chicken turn-in, it was lovely, actually. It was Persian saffron and yogurt chicken.
Nice.
Jackie described it. It tasted lovely. It's not barbecue, and it looks like it's anemic, I think was my comment card. So, we are a bit formulaic with competition barbecue, but we've always had a thing. We went out to the American Royal, and it was Toby. There's a guy called Adi who used to have a team called Bite the Bullet, who doesn't compete anymore. Jackie Waite, myself, and another guy who doesn't compete anymore. We went out as a group, and we did the American Royal, and we learned so much. It was just literally an eye opener. We came back and it was like, haha, we know what a money muscle is.
Yeah.
Nobody knew that at that time. Nobody was turning in money muscles. And basically, almost naturally, we did what the American teams, the more sharing of the American teams do. We tell anyone 90 to 95%. There are some guys who are more private in both the US and the UK. But I quite happily share almost everything. And what you'll find, that 90% that I do is the same as Toby does, it's the same as Ed does, Charlie, Alan, Alex from McSlims, all them guys. And then there's just this 5 to 10% of something that we do differently. And obviously, you spend a lot of money and a lot of time working this out. My approach has always been, I've done it by experimentation and tried things myself. Other guys have gone out and done like really good classes in the US. There's nothing wrong with either approach. It's whatever floats your boat and keeps you engaged and enjoying it. And some of the guys like to go out and learn from the best. Some guys like to sit at home and get it wrong a million times, and then when they get it right, feel that they've got a sense of achievement from it. But when you invest either time or money or both, and you've got a competitive streak, because you're not going to compete unless you're competitive. You keep those little bits to yourself, or you teach them in classes, which is what I think pretty much everyone's doing now. The teams who've been successful, who've got several GCs to their name and have done well in Europe or the States. I think everyone has done classes. I think Bulldogs have done classes. A bunch of Swines have done a couple. Miss Piggies, someone said to me they'd been on one of their classes. They did a class with Pro Q, didn't they? A while ago.
They've done a couple now, I think.
Yeah, obviously I did a class last year, then we did the 50 Shades of Q this year, which was a bit different in that we sort of got three of us together.
Bit of a collaboration.
Yeah, I mean it's a collaboration there because we give those. Say Alan would do the ribs, guys would come and say to me, "What do you do for your ribs? What do you do that's a bit different?" And I'll tell them they paid the cash. It's full disclosure. I say, "Well, I do this. My timing's a little bit different that way, but I use a different cooker, so there's differences that doesn't matter what cooker I own. I own a $5,000 beautiful big purple spice wine. I would never cook my ribs for competition on it. There's only one cooker I use for my ribs for competition because I just got it nailed with that. It's my old 47 WSM, battered as hell. I have a particular way I set it up, and I set the grills up differently, and it just works for me.
And does the trick, first place.
Yeah, the ribs yesterday were banging, absolutely. I was grinning ear to ear. So I went to slice them, and I was a touch delicate, shall we say. And there's a few people watching me, and they're all laughing at me because I'm shaking as I'm bringing the knife up to the ribs. And I'm thinking, if I push these slightly over here at all, because I use a serrated knife for slicing the ribs, if you're not smooth and careful, they'll start to fray at the edges, fray on the bark. And literally 4 racks, and the knife it was just gliding through. Then I stood there in this slightly delicate state, and Chantel's looking at me, and she's going, "What's wrong?" I'm going, "I've got 4 racks to choose from. I could put any one of them in. I can't cope with having that decision at this point in my life."
Just too good. I'm just too good.
Well, the thing with Grillstock is though, because you're doing 8 and you can't get. I'm a very keen advocate in KCBS of only putting 6 bones in. I know a lot of people put an extra bone in, but I put 6 in a standard size box from the same rack. As a lot of people will say, you don't often get 6 out of a rack. If you can cook ribs well and you can trim them well as well, there's a few little tricks to trimming them that I think some people don't realise or do it wrong, because I've spent years doing it wrong as well. But if you've got a process down, I can pretty much always get 6 bones from a rack. But with Grillstock, because I have to do 4 and 4 to fit them in the box, I'm definitely not going to get 8 good bones or 8 competition grade bones from a rack, so I know I'm going to go from 2. It kind of makes it easier when you've got 4 to pick from, because you're still picking 50% of what you've got.
Yeah.
And I had some beauties. They were only yellow box Booker ribs. That's why I always use the ribs. They've been a bit rubbish this year, to be honest, compared to how they've been in the past. So I've got quite a few racks in the freezer. Normally I'd find I'll get 3 racks that are competition worthy out of the box. This year it's 2, sometimes 1. It does mean that some of my friends are going to get fed a lot of ribs at some point. It's perfectly good to eat, but I look at them and go, I'm not going to be happy with that.
Can you tell just by looking at them when they're frozen in the box that they're not right?
Well, once I've got them out of the box, I can have a look at them. Still frozen, I can tell. I can certainly tell what's going to be a definite, and then there's certain ones that I'll go, 50-50. I'm not going to know 100% until I've trimmed it. But I can usually pick for. I can usually tell actually it depends how many racks you've got in the box as well. So quite often with those yellow box ones, it always used to be 4 or 4.5 racks because they're a fixed weight. This year we've been getting a lot of boxes with 5 racks in, so you get.
I was going to say last box I had 5 in it, I think.
Yes, yeah, so they're a bit skinnier. And you know what? You can still turn in an awesome rack of ribs that work. The judges do like them a bit meatier, and they eat with their eyes. You know, they see something chunky, and I've always thought there's sort of 2 ways with the appearance, because it's not heavy scoring criteria, but people eat with their eyes. So I've always thought if it looks awesome, that's a really good start. But if it looks awesome and it tastes a bit mediocre, maybe you're going to get the inverse of a halo effect there, you know, just drags you down a bit. And if it looks awful, but then it blows your mind, then it's going to be like, wow, is that going to then bump your texture and tenderness and your taste scores up?
Yeah.
But again, they're a difficult one as well. You've got to understand judges are human. And people, if your food tastes good, you'll get a halo effect on your texture and tenderness. Just human nature when people are judging it. Because even if it's a little bit dry, it's how it makes them feel when it's in their mouth. So if you've got it a little bit, say brisket's a little bit dry, takes a little bit more chewing, as long as it's not like a camel's arse in the sand. If it tastes good while they're chewing it, that's likely to distract them from the fact that the texture's not quite on it. But even if it's perfect, silky, if it tastes terrible and they're not enjoying chewing it, it's going to be difficult for them to separate that out.
So can you go through do your 90%, 95% of how you won the rib challenge?
Okay, yeah, I'll talk to you about what I did with the ribs. So I get my ribs in advance, usually a few weeks in advance. I semi-defrost them in the fridge. I have a separate fridge for meat in the garage that I run very, very cold. So I get them to the point where I can just work with them with a knife, and I St. Louis trim them. I get nice and even on top, and there's a few little tricks that are in the top 5% when I'm doing the trim that I'm not going to share. I get the membrane off, any trimming of the skirt on the back, so I've got a nice tidy rib. And then vacuum and back into the freezer so that they're nice and solid. When they come to the competition, they come straight out of the freezer, so I don't defrost them first. I basically use them as ice blocks in my cool box, and they're in there a day or two early, so I know they'll be defrosted but still nice and cold when I get to the point of working with them. So the night before, so we take the Grillstock timings, because I've not got my timing list in front of me for regular competition, and I'm certainly not awake enough for my memory to work for me, but I can remember the weekend just about. At 11:30, after 2 bottles of champagne, I injected my ribs. So I use a butcher's based injection. I don't follow the manufacturer's instructions, and I add some other ingredients into it. It's the same injection I use for my pork butt, and I smash 2 mils. I'll take the rack with one edge facing me, and I'll put 2 mils of injection between every bone. I'll then spin it, and I'll put 2 mils of injection from the other end in. And I'm trying to get, my needles are 1 3/4 inches long, so I'm getting pretty much right the way down to it. I then use Billington's light muscovado sugar, smother the ribs in that, and I wrap them tightly in cling film. And then I'll leave them to about between 2 and 2.5 hours before I'm going to cook them. So they're back in the cooler, 2 to 2.5 hours before I'm going to cook them. And that'll literally depend on whether I need an extra half hour's sleep, typically. Because if you're really tired, it's better. I'd rather have a little bit less rub time and get that extra 30 minutes in the sack, because it'll just help you function later. But on Sunday, because it was a late start for us, they were done 2.5 hours before. They were rubbed this weekend with a blend of the Tasted Glitter rubs, obviously as Priscilla, that's what I'm using. I was using the pink and the gold blended together, layered up. So they're rubbed with that. They're left then for the 2.5 hours. They come out of the cooler 30 minutes exactly before they're going to go onto the cooker. They go on the cooker, and I'll set my cooker up to run at 250, a little bit of hickory, a little bit of cherry. I go quite light on the wood when I'm doing ribs. I use the top rack of the WSM, and then I use the middle rack, but raised up above the top rack. So I'm keeping the distance from the water bowl. Ribs is the only thing I use a heat sink for, so I use a clay saucer for ribs. Rest of the time, I just use an empty foiled water bowl and just treat it as a baffle. So for pork and for brisket, I want to even out the radiant heat a little bit to stop any burning of the bones at the back. So the racks go on meat side up. They're then done for 2 hours, 45 minutes in the smoke. They then come off. They're then put meat side down in the foil with a mixture of a foil marinade that's my own recipe that is in the 5%, sugar, and a liquid sweetener of any form. Anything that's not going to burn is what you want. So I tend to use agave nectar, but you could use maple syrup if you wanted it. Juice honey, you could use. I wouldn't use golden syrup. Golden syrup's got a tendency to burn. So it's literally that spread on the foil, bit of sugar, meat side down, fold your foil up so that the liquid won't pour out when you pour it on. Pour your half a cup of foil marinade into it, wrap it tightly, back in the smoker. They're then back in the smoker for an hour and a half before I do a bend test on them. I've wrapped them really tight and neatly so that I can bend test them without opening the foil. Because the second you open the foil and let the steam out, you're slowing the whole cook down. If they feel good on the bend test, then I'll open them. I'll do a proper bend test, then actually touching the meat. I use a really fine skewer just to the very centre bone. I'll just have a little prick in to see if it feels buttery and nice. And if they're done at that point, I will rest them there. If they've not passed the bend test when I've unwrapped them, before I've unwrapped them, I'll give them another 25 minutes. And then they'll definitely be done after 25 minutes. I've never had one that aren't done after another 25. And I try to rest them, relax them for a good 20 minutes minimum. What I'm trying to do with mine is I'm trying to push them right to the point of being overcooked so that they are fall off the bone. But you've got the whole thing going on, and when you're foiling them, proteins in the meat all tighten up, and then they relax again. That's what can turn it into mush if you overcooked it. But actually, when they relax, it'll then hold onto the bone, so you can cook it a little bit further. And by leaving it 20 minutes, a decent rest time before you slice it, it'll be soft as hell, but it'll still stick to the bone. And then, when just before I'm about to do them, I turn them in. I'll bring them out probably 10 minutes before. I'll apply the sauce, and I'll just whack them onto the grill just for a few minutes. A very, very short sauce setting time for me, because what I don't want to do is when you set your glaze, it tends to mattify it. I want mine to be really glistening and shiny when they go in. And the latent heat that's in the ribs will just help to set the underside of the glaze, so it's still soft and liquid on top, but it's holding onto the meat. And there's one other little thing that gets done just before I sauce them, but again, that's in the 5%, so I'm not going to share that. It's just a little flavour boost. But that's how I do my ribs. That's how I've been doing them for about
some epic tips there.
Now. With a little tweak here and there, but and I've got. Year before last, I'm not sure if I was ever beaten in ribs. 5 contests in a year. Definitely won chicken in every contest I did that year. And then I think I won the ribs in every one, or maybe one I got beaten on. But I'm consistently, it's the one gash, Ed, bunch of swines, always wants to check what I've cooked, and that's the mark for me that I'm a good rib cook, because he's got all 4 categories. It's the ribs he's always interested in of mine, because that's the one he knows I'm going to have done a good job with.
Well, yesterday I'm no barbecue judge by any means, but yesterday walking around, in my opinion, the ribs was the toughest category. Everyone's I tried were really good, so I think you really pulled the bag out there and won a really tough category. So congratulations there.
Thanks for that.
When you come to
Appreciate the compliment.
with sourcing those, is that just a sauce you've made up, or are you using one of your sauces that's available to buy?
It's a mixture. It's a blend of the two sauces, so gorilla liquor and stuff. But that is literally the only sauces that I use, and I blend them in two different ratios. One for chicken and ribs, one for pork and brisket. Again, you have to do one of my classes to learn the ratios. But that's all I use. I did experiment at May this year with adding a couple of extra ingredients into the sauce. I like it. I'll probably try it again. But I do things slightly different for slightly different contests, you know.
Yeah.
So a British Barbecue Society contest, the judging's a little bit different. Although we now have some common judges, so Andy Williams, for instance, judged in May. Typically, the judges have been trained in a way for those, you know. Toby goes to a lot of effort to make sure that we don't get really naive green judges. Grillstock don't have that problem because I know we changed it this weekend because sadly Jackie wasn't well and John's not well. Texas Joe opening his restaurant. I mean, God, for God's sake, he needs to get his priorities right. Priorities right, doesn't he? So I know we had a few different faces, but you tend to have a sort of like fairly fixed group there. But they're barbecue people. Hargate's been doing this for donkey's years, a lot longer than I have. He knows a lot about barbecue. To me, John Hargate, maybe not competition-wise, although he was very successful in competition. In terms of actual being an encyclopedia of barbecue and food, there is no one better than Hargate. He's one of the people I respect absolutely the most in the UK barbecue scene. And Jesus, his life story is incredible. He's hands down, he is the most interesting human being I know. And I love John for this. And then you got Jackie, who's been doing it a long time. She was taught by Ray and by Eddie Morey, you know.
Yep.
I mean, Eddie taught her competition cooking. Eddie's a legend. You know, he doesn't compete as much now. But in his day when he was competing a lot, he was one of the best in the US. So she's had a good history of competition barbecue there. So she should know some stuff. The Grillstock guys haven't needed to train because you've got a small bank of judges. They've been able to pick, and they consistently, you know, there's the same people come back every year. Andy Williams has been judging for years at Grillstock since the first one. He goes out and tours around Europe doing a lot, so he's getting a lot of exposure to it. So you've got one of the most experienced judges in Europe. When other people do it, so we've got the big meet coming up later in the year, for example. There'll be some of the judges that have been trained for IBQN events will be there, and that's great. I've no doubt that there'll be some newer judges, but those judges they'll have been fed good barbecue and had it explained to them. And guys like Ed Torrey, who's been judging for the British Barbecue Society for years, he's a teacher by profession. He's very good at helping bring the judges along and getting the points across to them. I've never done one of the judging classes, but I've done food for one of the judging classes before. Because there's a way that as well that it's been done to make sure that they're not conditioned to one person's food. For example, so Toby cooks food. The judging class, he doesn't want them to just eat his food and go, oh well, that's what barbecue should be like. That's the flavour profile.
It's got to keep it fair. Yeah.
Yeah. So I cook for other guys have done it as well. You know, here's a range of flavour profiles. So they're getting a spread of that, but the textures are all aiming to be the same. Because that's the thing that's consistent, you know. The texture and tenderness of what's right is a very narrow spectrum. Flavour profile could be played with a lot, and again, it's a very subjective thing. Although you'll find we're all very similar because we all go for quite an uninteresting flavour profile, to be honest. You don't want to stand out because you don't want anything that's divisive. You're better off being, yeah, that's pretty good for all 6 or 8 judges than 3 judges going, that's the best thing I've ever tasted, and 3 judges spitting it out and going, that's horrible. It's got cinnamon in it. I can't stand it. And I've learned that one from using cinnamon on chicken. You know, it won a competition amazingly, like ridiculously high scores. Next one, it landed on a different table, and 2 judges hated cinnamon. Boom, it's gone.
Yep.
Bottom half of the table.
So it's playing the field and making sure you please as many of the judges as you can, whilst putting out the best quality you can.
Yeah, so cook it right. Cook it right is the key thing, and then go with a. I don't want to call it uninspiring because it puts people off. You've been doing it a long time. It kind of is. I would never cook these flavour profiles at home because I'm a little bit bored of them. You know, I do cook them for some other people because people will ask me for it. But I tend to, at home, I'll play around with it. I'll tweak things and just make it a bit more interesting. Put some flavour notes in there that actually get my juices flowing.
Yeah. When you're cooking for yourself, you know what you like. Cooking for your family, you know what your family likes, etc. So you can cook to them and your friends and whatever. But when cooking for the judges, you know there's something you're looking to achieve. So you're just trying to hit that on the head rather than cook to your taste buds.
As many people happy as you possibly can. That's the key, and that's the message that's been banged through from the guys who've been doing it a long time. The guys who started the circuit up and have done the coaching, and Ray's been passing that message along through Grillstock over the last 7 years as well. You know, do it. He goes around, spends a lot of time walking around with the teams and chatting with them, and he gives out some absolute golden tips. And no, he doesn't come in as if you're a student and tell you. You've got to actually listen to what he's saying. If you listen to the conversation, there's just little nuggets of information that come out. And if you listen well, I think he doesn't like making it too easy for people. I think he wants to, but he's sharing some great information. And there's plenty of guys who've competed for a long time do the same. You can't help it when you're talking to someone, you know. Cause there's bits that excite you, and you blab them out. My little 5%, I've dropped bits of that to people. I don't know if they've ever picked them up. It's just because something's been exciting, and I've gone, oh, it used to be terrible. When we got the, you don't compete, so you probably won't be aware of it, but a lot of the teams use a thing we call the chicken fister for doing the chicken skin now. So a few years back, everyone used to scrape the chicken skins. A lot of people don't scrape the chicken skins now, and they'll either chemically treat them with buttermilk or something like that, or they'll use a tenderizer. Now I came across this tenderizer, and it looks like a big knuckle duster. And it's a microplane one. It basically wraps around your knuckle. It's just got a load of tiny razor blades on it. So basically, you just roll your fist over rather than punching the chicken skin with a jackknife. But we were like, well, it was Charlie, I think, christened it the chicken fister. So obviously he's one of my best mates. So I went, check this out. It's brilliant. And he was like, yeah, it's great. And then the next thing I know, it wasn't him, it was me. Next thing I know, someone's been saying, how did you get your chicken skin to be so bite through? And I've gone, yeah, I'll show you. It's a secret. Look at my chicken fister. And the next thing I've told another team, and you go to a contest, and Andre from Bribery and Corruption's got one, and everyone else has got one, and I'm going, who's told them all? And then everyone's looking at me, you told us. Crap, yes. I was always terrible at keeping secrets, yeah. But you know, it's good because people have got a lot better. Even the teams that I feel sorry for, some of the teams now that aren't necessarily getting the results, getting calls as much, because actually their food's still really good. It's just the standard's gone up everywhere. Some of the guys, and I've tasted some of the teams who got no calls yesterday, for example. I've tasted some of the food, and 5 years ago it would have been getting RGCs. GCs, it's just the standards gone up. It's much tougher for everyone now.
Yeah, I was tasting some again. Yeah, I did the same yesterday. Tasted and the day before, tasted some of the food that didn't get called, and still, I mean, I have to commend them all because it was all great barbecue. So well done to everyone. Literally, well done to every single person.
tasted the odd thing that was a bit ropey yesterday. But when I tasted something that was ropey with a team, I told them. Because I'll be totally honest with them, you know. There's no point in me going, yeah, it's nice. If I think it's crap, I'll tell them it ain't. I won't be rude about it, unless they're an asshole or it's Deacon. If it's Deacon, I'll tell him it's crap, even if it's good. You know, just because he's a bad egg. # bad egg. But yeah, we you know, it's if I think someone's food's not going to win for them, I'll tell them because I think I'd rather hear that, you know. And the guys who've helped me have gone, nah, it's not right. You've got your texture wrong. Your flavour profile isn't right. And sometimes it's not easy to hear. But there's very little. I tasted quite a few people's food yesterday, and there's very little that was ropey.
I know you say. Carry on, mate.
I tasted one of May in May a few weeks ago, brisket. Oh my God! Oh Jesus! I've never tasted anything as bad in my life. So I told him it's bloody awful. He loved it. He loved the flavour himself. I just went, I'm sorry, mate, but you love it, I hate it. There's a good chance 50% of the judges are going to think the same as me, and 50% are going to think the same as you. It's never going to win. It was a proper Marmite type flavour, you know, love it or hate it. And I couldn't swallow it. I had to spit it out. But, you know, it's hard for someone to hear that. But then, you know, you tell them in the right way and you explain to them why you say it. And they generally take it all right. Maybe they won't.
And maybe they'll turn around and thank you at one point when they change it and then turn around and beat you.
They punched you, yeah. But yeah, it's and that's what everyone does, you know, for each other. People are, I think, who share their opinions quite well on the circuit, and that's good.
You maybe # bad egg, but actually, Smokers Pocus was some of the best barbecue that I tried. I mean, some of the best stuff I tried came out from them this weekend. It was some really good stuff actually they put out. So really pleased for them. They had a really good weekend as well.
You're going to make me compliment Deacon now, aren't you?
Come on.
We don't have that kind of dynamic. Look, he already got his wedding food for free from me. He's had enough from me this year. No, I'm really pleased for Deacon because you know what? He is a guy who's passionate about it and takes it serious. Maybe sometimes a little bit too seriously. So that's why he makes himself a target for us to take the mickey. But it's done out of love, you know. Everyone loves Deacon, and we all love Emily. Emily's like one of our favourite people. We all prefer her to him, you know. But he's worked really hard. I mean, I know there's a big bit of rivalry going on there with the social smokers. Obviously, the guys he was cooking with, but it's good-natured rivalry.
Yeah, guys, I mean the social smokers are a real good crack. We had a real good laugh with them over the weekend as well, and loved some of their food as well. And I mean, it's like really, it's pretty much who didn't we have a good time with and whose food wasn't great because a lot of it was amazing, and we had a really good time with a lot of teams. So sort of social smokers, Man Meat Fire, Riviera, Dr. Evil, just to name a few of the others. There was Smoking Dragons was another one that I actually got to. Smoking Dragons, I might be wrong there. I think that's the name.
Yeah, Smoking Dragons.
Yeah. Who I met over the weekend. Yeah, I had a good crack with them as well. I'd never spoken to them before, but had a real good sort of crack with them and stuff. And yeah, so it's awesome. I mean, the Bullet Brothers as well. I may as well name them all because it was a really good weekend. Really enjoyed it.
So I've got a shout for Last of the Summer Swine, who were my neighbours. They were some of the best neighbours I've ever had. Really, really good bunch of lads. Really nice to my girls, which is always good without being pervy, which is good, so I don't have to go and spank them and tell them to back off. Gave us loads of free booze. Music was generally pretty good, apart from when Philadelphia came on at Sunday morning. I'm like, really? Do we want something depressing when we're all hanging? They fed me some amazing tiffin. Well, anyone who competes, who knows me well, will know when I compete in barbecue competitions, all I eat is chocolate. I can't. There's something. I don't really eat Cadbury's Dairy Milk any other time. I eat it occasionally, but I'm not a huge fan of it. I prefer dark chocolate. When I do barbecue competitions, it's all I can eat. I ate 60 Freddo bars over the weekend and pretty much nothing else. I had one cheese toastie and a couple of chips. The rest was Freddo bars, Pepsi Max, and champagne. Was my diet.
Sounds like a good
not
diet.
Very healthy diet at all. But I'm seriously back in the gym tomorrow.
If that's what it takes to win, then maybe that's what everyone's going to start doing.
That's the 5%, guys. Champagne, Freddos.
Champagne and Freddo the frogs. No, it's just there's something about dairy milk. Just it's some kind of flavour combination with the smell of smoke. It just seems to offset it and keeps me from going stir crazy. And sugar keeps the energy going because I don't get enough sleep, and I'm hanging. It seems to work. But yeah, they last the summer swine fed me this homemade tiffin that one of the guys, I think his friend's mum had made it, and it was the most glorious thing I'd ever eaten in my life. It was possibly the richest, filthiest, sluttiest food. And still, I'm almost having a trouser moment thinking about it now. It was so good. And I got to meet the lady whose mum had made it. That was literally like, I want to marry your mum. Don't care if she's in her 70s. I want to marry her so she can make me tiffin every day. And then I'll be 24 stone again within 6 months. But yeah, those guys were awesome. I really hope I'm pitched up next to them again.
Wicked.
Next year.
Cool. We are over the hour, so I'm going to have to jump in and say that's it for now. But it's been absolutely epic. Really, really thank you very much for coming on, because we really wanted to get the winner of the King of the Grill on, and we are only the next day, and it's just the afternoon. I'm sure you've been absolutely busy all day and absolutely hanging from celebrations. So thanks a lot for coming on, bro.
You're very welcome, and I hope I didn't ramble too much because I am quite hanging. So.
No, it's been wicked.
It's been awesome. I can see a follow-up episode because I've got so many more questions I want to ask you as well. So thanks very much for coming on today. It's been amazing.
That's cool. You're very welcome. I'm now going to eat some glorious carbohydrates and then go to bed.
Enjoy, bro. Thank you very much. Speak to you soon.
Thanks a lot.
And congratulations one more time.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Cheers.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. We've recorded yet another awesome podcast to get you over Hump Day. As always, we're brought to you by ProQ BBQ Gourmet and Smokewood Shack, our awesome sponsors. ProQ is dedicated to providing you with quality smoking products with top-notch service and free advice for beginners to pit masters, and you can find them on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram under ProQ Smokers. So if you're thinking about buying your first smoker or looking to upgrade or even looking to pick up some epic accessories, check them out over at Max Barbecue. And actually, over the weekend, they released a shed loads of more accessories.
Such cool stuff.
It's really cool stuff. So get on over and check those new bits out, guys. And Barbecue Gourmet is devoted to promoting real barbecue and supplying the UK and Europe with top championship winning barbecue rubs, sauces, marinades and accessories from the US and around the world. And you can find them on Twitter and online under Barbecue Gourmet. So regardless of how you cook, whether it's on charcoal, gas, wood or electric, the real taste of barbecue can be yours all year round. And they're also getting some new Meat Church bits in coming up this week on the new shipment, so keep an eye on that, guys. Some injections and some other bits coming in. And Smokewood Shack delivers quality smoking wood every time. They provide the smoky goodness, you provide the talent. So if you're looking for smoking wood chunks, dust, chips or planks, then head on over to smokewoodshack.com, and you can find them on Twitter at Smokewood Shack. And again, James Smokewood Shack's a really devoted guy, putting out some amazing wood. I mean, top quality stuff, and you can't beat it.
None of this cheap imitation stuff. All the best quality wood. Works awesome every time.
That's it, exactly. He definitely provides smoky goodness, so thanks, James. And thanks for tuning in, guys. So goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
Cheers. Ciao.
Bye.